And just to throw it out in a general sense, if you were to think of maybe one particular thing off the top of your head on why the Leafs failed again in the first round, what would come to mind for you, JB? I'll start with you.
Well, listen, I'm coming off a couple of days of picking through this pretty heavily with you, and you and I have walked it back to the Nylander contract and signing Tavares, which is very big picture stuff.
All right, listen, and I don't necessarily want to rehash that. Right. I'm just spitballing here on what maybe everybody else is feeling as well, because to understand where you might be heading, it's really hard to do that without understanding where you've come from and how you got here. There's a history here. I think that still needs to be understood a little bit better by true Leaf fans to understand it. So you're going with contracts.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think it's put them in such a squeeze that they've had to do. They're constantly bending over backwards trying to find the next value guy because they have nothing to spend.
Sammy, are you there too as well? Just to JB's points on maybe the salary cap, the money issue. Is that your first thought?
Honestly, my first thought is laundry. They wear blue and white, but I'll outside of
jinx,
that, the Kersey stuff comes to mind. But I think honestly, it would probably be special teams and goaltending would be my biggest reasons in years past. I think maybe this year, the goaltending, maybe not an excuse. I think maybe he could have had a couple better games. But if you look back at years before, you think of some of the Freddie Anderson years and some of the stuff that he let in. You think of Jack Campbell versus Carey Price last year. The special teams has never been good. In these playoff series, that's what it's always come down to, and that's really what I would get to at it.
Those are really good. I like those, and I would love to hear your answer to your own question.
Yeah, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
I promise you. I'm going to go get there.
All right.
For me, it's, okay, I'll tell you in a nutshell. Okay. And it's development.
Okay. Development. Looking at the lack of guys contributing on ELCs to this team.
Yes. So before we probably dive into a little bit more of that, if we go back to when did the build truly start for you guys?
Shanahan.
Brendan Shanahan.
Yeah, Brendan Shanahan. The year that they completely stripped down the 2013 sort of team that went on that lost in the first round too. But the 2013 team that lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Bruins, and they kind of stripped it down after that. So that's when I would say this era has sort of begun.
So Brendan was hired. He was hired
April 11th?
April of 2014.
Of 2014.
Yeah.
See, I think that the true build started for me when they drafted Austin Matthews. Really.
So that's
Mitch Marner
16?
Mitch Marner was the year before, correct?
Yeah.
It was Willie, Mitch, and Austin in that order.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
So
they
of course,
drafted eighth, fourth, and first.
You're getting top 5 picks in Willie and Mitch, but the one that really took Leaf fans to another level was the first pick overall.
Right.
Right.
Yep. And the very next year, Kyper, is the start of our 6 years of first-round exits. They made the playoffs the first year with Austin Matthews after getting first pick overall. It was a remarkable turnaround.
And with Willie and Mitch, you knew there were good players and there were going to be blue chip, but you just weren't sure.
For Mitch, it was like, could he do it at that size at this level? Because so few players can.
Well,
resounding yes.
The answer was no early because they looked at him like he was a ninth round draft pick. They sent him back to junior, right? He didn't even get to play his first year.
Right.
Yeah, but then he completely dominated the OHL and won the Memorial Cup, which probably didn't hurt his development.
No, that was probably a plus.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. Anyways.
Where would you be with the decision of Kyle Dubas over Lou Lamoriello? Where would that fit in big stories on potentially leading you to your 6th exit in the first round Saturday night?
Well, I think it's defining for what this is, right? Like this whole look now is exclusively Dubas, right? It's a bunch of guys skill guys that have offensive upside that you hope you can coach the defense into them. And yeah, I mean, it would look fundamentally different with Lou Lamoriello. I mean, 5, 6, 7, 8 players different.
It's a fascinating what if.
God, I wish we could explore that multiverse.
Truly.
I would love to know how that would look.
Who was the team that was sniffing around? Who was the...
Colorado.
Colorado that was sniffing around Dubas, right?
Yes.
So
they made him an offer.
They made him an offer, and then they came back. They brought him back, and then the next year they let Lou go. And I don't know. I don't know if it would be better. I want to sit here and say that Lou would have done this and done that, maybe shaved a couple million off the negotiations or whatever. But look what are the Islanders in a great shape right now? I don't know.
Martin might still be here.
Brendan Shanahan was 2 years in as president with that big decision. Would have been a 2 or 3?
3. I feel like 3. Because Dubas has had the reins for 4 years, which takes him to 2017-18.
You want to go back and talk about a ballsy decision?
Yeah.
That was huge. And at the time, you weigh out the pros and cons. You got the ultimate general manager who's won and as well respected as anybody in the game.
Yeah.
And then you go completely the other way. Like, just really think for a second on how big of a decision to go from one extreme to the other. And Kyle came in a relatively...
Kyle was Bitcoin. Shanny was in on the crypto boom. He was. He was like, he saw the new wave and he was going to get in early and ride it to the top.
Buy that for $1.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's actually a great
He
comparison.
is Bitcoin.
A little bit. Bitcoin's crashing.
I don't follow it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And I still give Brendan a little bit of credit for having the gonads to do it.
Yeah.
Because not many would have.
Right.
Really, when you truly think about it.
Not many would have, I agree.
When you really look at where Kyle was and how short of a time to get in that position. Mm-hmm. And I remember like talking to people in my inner circle. Of course, I'm in my mid-50s and I've lived it and breathed it at the pro level for over 30 years. And I talked to everybody.
Yeah.
And there wasn't too many people going, are you kidding me? Like, who's Kyle Dubas?
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that have been in our industry that has like scratched and crawled their way up the ladder.
Yeah.
And years of scouting to, I don't know, assistant general manager. And sometimes you got to run that for 5 or 10 years. And hey, be patient. You're learning. You'll get your time. And then you got Kyle coming in, he's in the fast lane at Disneyland, right? And you're in line for like 3 hours to go on this roller coaster, and you're looking this guy, and he's, hey, how you doing, sucker? You don't have one of these passes? You don't have a fast pass, sucker?
You can't go to this is a side. You can't go to a theme park without one of those.
You got to spend the money.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what though? And you know what the best thing to happen to Kyle Dubas was? Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein winning championships with the Boston Red Sox.
And the Cubs.
Was he 28 and then the Cubs at 28? Yeah. And this boy genius idea of someone who's going to come and outthink the game and revolution.
Exactly.
That's what people see the
analytics, right? Yeah. It's just a whole new world. So there's a whole new lingo out there.
Yeah.
Right? That your traditional, conventional hockey guy is just not in tune. And again, for Brendan Shanahan now to bring someone in and hear a different voice, a different angle, like it's a big chance on his part to go in a different direction, and just not whether he's right or wrong, but just the mere fact that you had the guts to do it tells you that you were thinking outside the box, that you weren't going to go down that traditional way.
And if I can, the decision that Shanahan made has left the Leafs a very good hockey team. It's not like he picked a guy and they have been a resounding flop. Like Dubas didn't know how to do it. They had 115 points this season. They produced a pretty good hockey team. But it's the difference of people believe that what Lou built in Long Island was a playoff style team. Mm-hmm. How different would it look had he not made that decision is the one we're stuck here going, I don't know. Maybe they're a worse regular season team. Maybe they're just a worse team. Maybe they win a cup by now. I mean, it's impossible to know, but you're right. That fundamentally altered the course of how the team looked for the years to come.